Okay, let's try that. Let's try that. Is it working this time? Is it going to work this time? At this point, I should just stop because I've gone live like 4 times. Which means that no one is going to be clicking this because they're going to think it's the same one that already happened. Like, this is actually a total waste of my time now. But maybe now it's working. I don't know. I wish I could tell you what the hell is going on, but I can't. Nothing's overheating. Nothing is, like, maxed out. The CPU doesn't care. The GPU cares a little bit, but that's because of the encoding I'm using on OBS. But it's only like a little bit. Like, it's using 20%. That's it. What's going on? What is happening? I don't know. For the love of God. For the love of God. You know, if you've got the spare pocket money, memberships and super chats would quite possibly make this all go away. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what the problem is. I just wanted to sit down, have a coffee, and talk about how things are broken. Although, suspiciously, do you know what I don't have up right now that I had up before? Twitter. I don't have Twitter up. Was Twitter the thing that was destroying it? Was that what it was, gang? Was it Twitter? That would be hilarious. In a bad way. That would be bad. Anyway. Hello, Revelo. Hello, Glacier, Dantum, Ryan, Papa Zulu, Michael, Unsanctioned Goof. How are we doing? How are we doing? Are we all good? This is not how I wanted my Friday to start. This can't even be a long stream. I've got 18 million videos to catch up on, including member exclusives, right? So members were supposed to have two exclusive videos last week, and early access to 2 videos last week, and the same this week. And everything has just been collapsing around me. Blue screens, black screens, everything crashing. Basically, like what happened really was GeForce was like, hey, you need to update your graphics drivers, you idiot. So I did it, and everything has been broken since. Like, I don't know what it wants from me. I was like, okay, I've done what you've asked. Can it work now? And the answer was no. It's going to be even worse. It's going to be absolute garbage. Hot garbage. Also, it's really warm. Hello, the Salty. Hello, Ryan. Hello, Jarl Grimnar. Hello, Lifelighter. Oh, man. Okay, not an ideal start, alright? Not an ideal start. Not quite what I was going for. Not what I was hoping for. But maybe this'll work now. Maybe it'll work. Hello, Mac. How are you doing? Hello, Kurizu Fenris Wolf. Right. Okay. So, the thing that we need to talk about... Oh, it's bad. It's bad. I have regrets, alright? I have regrets. I have extreme regrets. But you'll be able to see why. So, do not start the clock. Do not start the clock. Right. So... I think we should just get into it, okay? I think we should just get into it. I've just taken my glasses off and now I can't see. Oh, Crafting Kaiju, hello. I am, apart from fighting infinite tech issues, I'm good, thank you, Maka. I'm losing my mind. I'm absolutely losing my shit over here. But, you know... You sub to me because... I don't know, actually, Entropy. I've got no idea. I mean, I also cover Age of Sigmar and other stuff as well, so maybe it's one of those things. I don't know. You're going to say you don't play any games and you don't know why you're here. And that's fine. You can hang out. Don't have to. It's up to you, really. Alright, so... Do any of you remember in June of last year and in November of last year, I did a sponsored video in both of those months for a company called Broken Anvil Miniatures. And so yeah, so June 2022, November 2022, Broken Anvil Miniatures did 2 sponsored videos for them. One for a game called Riven Stone, and one for a Kickstarter called Forged, which was like a mass of just miniatures. The initial thing they did for Forged didn't work, and then they did it like 2 more times. And yeah, they seemed like... Well, they seemed like a decent enough company, and I'd seen their stuff before, and I'd seen their work previously, and it all looked good and above board. And it's worth pointing out that when I did the second sponsored video for Forged, as far as I knew, as far as anyone knew, I think, we all just assumed it was all good. It's just easier to lose your mind straight away, isn't it? Just lose your mind instantly, and you'll be good. However, there have been issues. Extreme issues. Now, Mikey from Hellstorm covered this yesterday, I want to say. Yesterday or Wednesday. I forget which day it was. And initially, I was like, oh god, I've really messed up. But I think actually, I don't know that I have necessarily really messed up in doing those sponsored videos. But they have aged catastrophically badly, right? So, if you're not remembering which videos they were, I did a video for... oh, really? Oh, well, mind you, of course this is gone. This is gone because everything crashed, and now I've got to set the window up again. Hang on, let's get this on here. There we go. So, hello, Morgley. So, this is the disaster, right? So, the first video I did for Broken Anvil Miniatures was this, Riven Stone, brand new tabletop skirmish wargame. And to be fair to them, it's a good pitch. Like, it looks like a good game. Lots of really nice, catchy art. There's like a slightly different style to it, maybe a bit more cartoony. That's one of the things I really liked about it, because previously, right, Broken Anvil did a bunch of like Patreon STL miniatures. So you support them on Patreon, you get the STLs to print at home, and that's how they started out, from what I can tell.
Wake up, Doreen. Kiri.
Yeah.
4-player Exterminatus heavy bolters only when.
Oh hell yeah! I'm down for 4-player heavy bolters only. I would do that in a heartbeat. That's quality. That's a great idea. Also, thank you for waking Doreen up. She was having a lie-in, but that's not acceptable. We're here, so she needs to be here. So yeah, I mean, this looked good. It looked decent. They had plans. They had form for sculpting miniatures. This time round, it was going to be production miniatures using Cyocast. And so, when it was a case of, okay, we would like you to paint up a model and we'd like to do a sponsored video for Riven Stone, obviously I was like, yeah, that looks good. I can see your work. I can see what you've done previous. What you've done previous looks good. It all looks pretty decent. And worth pointing out as well, I am far from the only person who advertised Riven Stone for them. When it comes to that bunch of sponsorships, they went to loads of people. In fact, do I dare load up another YouTube? do I dare load up another Chrome tab, given how badly this crashed earlier? You can go onto YouTube and search for Riven Stone, and you will see a shed load of sponsored videos for this game. So yeah, it looked like it was going to go big. Pretty unique style. Different miniatures to what you'd normally see. You know, extremely stylized. Almost like World of Warcrafty. I thought, like, this looks like it's going to do good. And especially with the marketing budget they'd put behind it, you know, they clearly approached quite a lot of people. It looked like a good game. It looked like a safe bet. And indeed, it did do pretty decent. 1,400 backers pledged $233,000 for Riven Stone. Hello, Lord Inquisitive Vex. I'm repping Mikey again, by the way. I've got my coffee, and I've got it in my coffee time mug. R.I.P. coffee time. Oh, whilst that's settling, there's 121 of you here, and there's 16 likes. Get yourselves together. Come on. Let's have some likes. Let's have some likes on the stream. Let's go. I still don't like it. Still don't like asking for likes. So, this was the first one. This was the first video I did for Broken Anvil. It was for Riven Stone, and Riven Stone looked good. And clearly, lots of other people thought it looked good as well. Clearly. And so, when they approached me again in November of 2022, I was like, nice one. That's fine. Let's go. They've done a successful Kickstarter, and now they're doing another Kickstarter. And once again, successful. $243,000 they got for Forged. Now, Forged happened, like, I think they did 3 different versions of this one. The first one they did had a lot of, like, repeated sculpts. What I didn't know at the time was that Forged was kind of...
Professor Cupper, I'm here for the drama.
Yeah, hello, Katie. Thank you. Oh, look at... Oh, Doreen's getting some... I was going to say getting some action today, but I don't think I want to say that. So, yeah, Forged was just a mass of tabletop RPG miniatures. So, usable for D&D. All your TTRPG needs, basically. We're talking about 2 sponsored videos I did, Karen SL and all, that it turns out I don't think the people who actually backed these campaigns are going to get what they paid for, which sucks. It sucks for them. If at any point you feel like I'm making it seem like it sucks for me, frankly, it doesn't suck that much for me in terms of, like, monetary gain or loss. It sucks because I hate misleading people, and the fact I did sponsored videos means that people will have supported these, and they're not going to get what they paid for, which is garbage, and I cannot overstate how much I hate that. But, like, this is kind of just talking about what's happened. And so Forged looked like, again, really safe bet. Like, $243,000. They didn't have to shell out for a lot of the sculpting on these, because these are sculpts that were previously available on their Patreon. So they already had the files. So yeah, they had to mess about with, like, chopping them up for Siocast and whatever. But, like, again, from their previous history, and from having worked with them before on Riven Stone, and with Riven Stone doing as well as it did, I was like, sure, let's go. Forged sounds great. Now, worth pointing out at this stage as well, that Riven Stone was not due to come out until June 2023. So they had a year lead time, right? So they did the Kickstarter, then a year later you'd get the game. So when this showed up in November, it was like, okay, I mean, a second Kickstarter, the first one is funded. It hasn't been fulfilled yet, but then it wasn't supposed to be. So, sure, okay. That's fine. And then that was it, right? I didn't hear any more about Broken Anvil Studios until they did a paint range. Now, the paint range did, again, fairly decent. There is, however, a problem with all of this, right? I didn't do a sponsored video for the paint range. They didn't approach me for that. Probably because when they were first thinking about this, I wasn't good at painting. Or at least that might be why, I don't know. But here's the problem, and here's what sucks, right? When they did Riven Stone, they got $233,000 out of it. They ran out of money before they came even close to fulfilling Riven Stone. Now, all of this is from... let me see if I can find the video, which I will put a link in the chat so you can watch it. Because, again, I'm so paranoid about loading up another tab in case it absolutely annihilates the stream for the fourth time? Look, it's not gone well. It's not gone well, this whole streaming attempt today. So I really don't want to push it too much, you know? I'm trying to remember his name because it was a really good video.
Kickstarter scams are 10 a penny. With a good-looking campaign page and a little outreach to content creators, you can separate rubes from their money quite easily. Way too common these days.
Well, that is, yeah, that is a big thing, Chikai. It's like, okay, the king of average. Here we go. I found the video. I'm going to put it in the chat so that you can watch it. We won't watch the whole thing ourselves, but you will be able to get a really good feel for it. And he goes through everything, right? I'm doing it on my phone because again, I don't want to completely annihilate the stream. Yeah, there's a lot of like scamming and stuff that happens on Kickstarter, unfortunately. The thing is, when it comes to this company, I don't think they set out to do it, but like just gross mismanagement totally ruined things. It totally ruined it. So they fully funded Riven Stone, right? Riven Stone was all good. Riven Stone was sorted. They didn't get far enough into it before they ran out of money. They just did not have the funds to do what they wanted to do. And when you start looking at things like how much they were spending per month, they were a small company that very quickly expanded into a big company. And the founder of the company, the CEO, said in a thing on Discord, which was classed as a public statement, even though it wasn't a public statement, because it was on a private Discord. Go figure. Again, that link I put in the chat, you will be able to see all of that in there. Basically, their operating costs were like 100,000 for pay and like 14,000 for rent a month. So Riven Stone making $233,000 sounds great at the start until you realise that is 2 months of operating costs. And that's it. So they ran out of money super quickly. The mismanagement was really bad, and they needed a solution to the fact that they had this Kickstarter, and they had moved from doing STL-only releases to suddenly wanting to do full games, Sirecast miniatures. The way that they decided to shore up their kind of financial situation was with Forged. Effectively, they ran out of money for Riven Stone, and their solution was to run a second Kickstarter for a different product, which they would then take some of the money from that and put it into Riven Stone. Now, if you're thinking that sounds incredibly dodgy, that's because it is. That is a terrible idea, and funnily enough, it didn't go the way they wanted. And they did like a couple of attempts of Forged. I think it was the third one that they actually did. Like, full-on Ponzi scheme stuff. It's insane that the guy thought this would work. Like, such a terrible idea. It's unreal. So they launched this Forged one 3 times. Now, I knew that they'd done it twice because the initial pitch wasn't good, and to be fair, like, I've seen companies do an initial pitch, get feedback and go, you know what, we'll change it up. Clearly this isn't going to work. I don't think the customers are going to like this. It's not the best way to do it. Thank you for telling us. But with Forged, this is the 3rd attempt, and they raised a decent amount of money. Again, $243,000. But that wasn't enough either. So now you've got 2 Kickstarters, one of which didn't do enough, and they fell massively behind on. To try and compensate for that, they launched a second Kickstarter, which they then couldn't really afford to follow through on because the first one hadn't been shipped and hadn't been fulfilled. And then we get onto the 3rd Kickstarter, where they decided to do a paint range, which I wasn't involved in this. This was nothing to do with me. I didn't do a sponsored video for the paint range, but a lot of people did. They gave the paints to some really well-known painters, some really well-known YouTube channels, some people that, frankly, I think make fantastic content. Like, I think Dana Howell did a video on these paints, and it did okay, but it still hasn't been fulfilled either. So at this stage, at this point, we have 3 Kickstarters, all run by Broken Anvil Miniatures, and all 3 of them have got nothing to show for it. I think with Forged, they ended up sending out the STLs, but that's not what people paid for. The point of Forged was that it was production miniatures. Same thing with Riven Stone. It was a complete game in a box, and that was supposed to be fulfilled by June 2023. We are now in September of 2023, and there has been no fulfillment of that. So, I'm just going to catch up with chat a second, because I've been talking a lot. This is the thing, Maka. Like, when it comes to sponsored stuff, I really try and vet like who I'm working with, and for the most part, like, this is the only time I've recommended something that then has just not materialized. Or this is the only time that, like, I've been asked to take a look at something and it's just turned out to be absolute nothing has materialized at the end of it. But I still feel like my part in that is bad. Even at the time, I had no way of knowing, because up until this point, this is a company that has been successful and done well, and they have done nothing to indicate that things would go bad. The fact is, that doesn't make a difference, because It did. It did go bad in the end. So, should have just took the Raid Shadow Legends deal. Look, I asked them to pay me with a Warlord Titan, and they said no. That's not my fault. They could have had ads on the channel for the cost of a giant, massive resin, but they didn't want it, so that's up to them. I've never backed a physical Kickstarter that's managed to hit anywhere close to its delivery date. I mean, that's the thing. There are some where that, like, there's one company I work with a lot, Archon Studio, who I love because they always deliver. Always. They haven't been late for I don't know how long. I don't think they've been late for like the last 3 they've done, 3 or 4. But a lot of them are, admittedly. Long lead time Kickstarter, yeah, that's... Bardsong looked great, but that's like, it's going to be like 3 years. Thank you very much for the membership, Nixlotl. Thank you. So, Kickstarter shouldn't allow people to start new pledges until they supply the first pledges. I 100% agree. You should not be allowed to start a second campaign until you fulfill the first one. That just should be a rule. Kickstarters are a gamble. I've done 5, 3 shipped fine, 1 was late, and 1 is set to ship next month, but it's never a guarantee. Yeah, that's true. The problem with many of these is that they have passionate people on the ground making stuff, but no understanding of production and operating costs. Honestly, with this, it just seems like masses of mismanagement. Like, there are statements from former employees that are like just wild to read, absolutely wild. Again, that video I put in the chat, I will make sure that I repost that in a second, so that you've all got it. Broken Anvil seems to have had a reasonable track record prior to their switch from STLs to kickstarting physical products. That's the thing, Zingbo. At the time, it was like, well, yeah, they've done good. There's nothing dodgy. There's nothing dodgy going on. It doesn't look suspicious. There's no history of it. Yeah. They should have teamed up with Wargames Atlantic. Well, from what I understand, and it starts to get a bit muddy because it's 2 companies, Broken Anvil Miniatures and Level 52, and it's founded by the same person, run by the same person. Technically 2 companies, but one sort of does the production, but the other one doesn't. And from what I gather, I think it was probably supposed to build up into something different. That is my assumption, anyway. Okay. Game in a Box Kickstarter is usually good. Yeah, lots of content creators covered Riven Stone. Yeah, yeah. Yep. They did. They did. They approached loads of people, but this is where it just sucks, right? Because I think anyone could tell the person in charge that starting this Kickstarter, having it do well, and then mismanaging the funds, and then trying to get around that by starting this Kickstarter and having it do well, but then that is gone towards trying to support this Kickstarter, that's just... I mean, it's just flat out bad. You just shouldn't do it. It is fully like Ponzi scheme territory, and it's insane that was the thinking, that was the idea, that like, well, okay, we may have messed up this, but it's fine, because this will do super well, and we'll be bailed out. No, if you couldn't manage it on the budget that you had originally, you're not going to be able to manage it by introducing more work for yourself and adding on more pressure. That's not how that works. And then trying to get round that by doing a paint range. A paint range! Of all things. Have you seen how, like, all over the shop paints have been for, like, the last few years? It's just... it's so frustrating. I hate the fact that there will have been people who supported these off the back of stuff that I did who aren't getting what they paid for. I hate that with a passion, right? Oh, it sucks. It absolutely sucks. And the thing is, it sucks for so many people, right? I know it kind of might seem like, oh, it's all about... It's not. Like, I did a sponsored video, and that was it. And at the time, it was all legit, and it was all fine. The people I feel bad for are the people who pledged, who don't get anything. Because that's garbage. That just absolutely sucks. Also, the staff. Like, the people who actually worked at Broken Anvil Miniatures from the stuff that's been talked about and from what they've said, they cannot stand how things have gone. Like, they had decent jobs doing things they enjoyed, and then the person in charge ruined it for all of them. Just absolutely annihilated the company, and therefore annihilated their jobs. They weren't doing anything wrong. They were just doing what they were supposed to do. They were designing miniatures. They were designing games. They were making things for other people to enjoy. But someone has to be in charge. And if the person who is in charge decides to be a, frankly, useless idiot, it impacts everyone. It sucks. That's like, how do you just mismanage to the extent that you go down to like 2 employees? Because that's what they've got right at this point. We're going to read through a statement they put on the Riven Stone page in a second. But it's insane. It's just so bad. Okay, that's the thing, Entropy. I am like, it is entirely illogical for me to be upset about the fact that I did sponsor videos for a company that at the time had a perfectly good reputation and there was no sign of wrongdoing. I totally accept that. That's just me being daft about it because, like, I'm not psychic. If I was, I would probably be a lot more successful than I am. But I just don't like the idea of misleading people intentionally or unintentionally. When it comes to unintentionally, in situations like this, it is literally a case of, what can you do? What can you do? All you can do is, after the fact and when everything has come out, say, this is what happened, and I am genuinely sorry that if you supported these because I did a video on them, that you're not going to get what you are owed. I'm also not sure how I would do things differently in future to prevent it, because the kind of approach that I took with Broken Anvil Miniatures is the same that I've taken with other companies. And of the other companies I've worked with, only one has completely fucked it up, and it was this lot. So it's like, because the same thing with like Archon Studio. I started working with them, and they have done, I mean, for God's sake, have you seen all the Dungeons and Lasers stuff that I have? Like, it's not even a case of me just accepting sponsorships from them. I immediately take that money and buy their stuff off them, which is absurd. But yeah, it's a silly thing to be frustrated about in a way, because there's nothing you can do about it, and there's nothing that would have indicated that it would go wrong in the first place. But I just feel bad for the people who have supported these things and aren't getting what they should. People saw how well Duncan's paints did and thought theirs would do the same. I mean, yeah, but Duncan's paints, 2 Think Coats, is manufactured by... Have you seen the video that MS Paints did going through their like bottling plant? Their factory for making the paints. It's like 2 guys in a shed, and one of them made all of the equipment. It is wild. It's amazing, but tell you the rule of thumb for a Kickstarter is if it features a ton of unique sculpts, not units of repeated sculpts, the mold making will cost a fortune. That means the Kickstarter has to make bank. That makes sense, actually, Maka. That makes a lot of sense. It would have been so much better if they went mini-agnostic but with a range of STLs, and then print on demand via Wargame Vault, possibly. I thought Riven Stone shipped to people already. I only do 3D printed Kickstarters because I dislike waiting so long for my products. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I can see that. I don't think Kickstarter does... I don't think Kickstarter does anything if it all falls through. I don't think Kickstarter does anything, does it? I'm pretty sure there's a thing that basically says if you don't get what you... if you don't get what you paid for, tough? Maybe I'm wrong. I would love to be wrong about that. God, I would love if that was not true. Thankfully, I've never had a Kickstarter not fulfilled. I mean, to be honest, that is pretty lucky. I know quite a few people have had a good number of them just not happen. Garbage. I don't think people realise what goes into making a Kickstarter with physical production. I mean, that's something else as well. They went from doing STLs to doing physical, but it's such a massive leap. Like, it's a huge leap. If you're not a large established business with a secure supply chain and a firm understanding of the material and of the market, and then you go out and just assume will fall into place, it's setting yourself up for failure. Yeah. Well, honestly, the kind of background, the background of it kind of feels like there was just a big assumption of this is going to do great and it's going to solve all our problems for every single subsequent Kickstarter, right? It kind of feels like that was the approach. It was just, okay, well, this hasn't gone well, but it's fine because we'll just do another one and then that'll do grand and we will be home free. And it's like, no, that's not how that works at all. No. So yeah, the recap basically, the basic recap, gang, is that for those of you who are joining a bit later, because we did go into it relatively quickly, but that's because I wanted to get it done before my PC invariably dies again. Is a couple of sponsored videos for a company that now is unable to fulfill those Kickstarters. At the time of doing them, obviously, no idea that it was going to go this way, because otherwise I wouldn't have done it. But that's just how things have gone down, which sucks. Although, interestingly, that's fascinating. So, this video has all the information that I've been pulling from. I'm going to pin it in the chat so that you can go and watch it at your leisure. Mantic of making a Worms board game? Oh, hell yes. Hell yes. So, interestingly, yesterday, someone said that they actually received some of the Riven Stone stuff, which is super interesting because the rest of the comments are just people requesting refunds, which is not going to happen, I don't think, because I don't think the company's got any money. Just shill your own products. I wish I had some products to shill. Yeah, literally 1 day ago. So yesterday. That's fascinating. I thought these were Siocast. Oh, that's interesting. There's a mix of resin and Siocast by the look of things. That's weird. Anyway, so, updates. The big updates are insane. Absolutely insane. So, the link that I put up, they have responded to that. But, before that point, oh dear. This is like such a rundown of how bad a situation they're in. And how I just don't think anyone's really going to get what they're after, at least not for a long time. So, this is what Broken Anvil Miniatures said on the 26th of August, so a couple of weeks ago now. This news is like a week and a bit old. I hadn't realised how bad all this had gone. I just assumed that it had shipped as it was supposed to, because I didn't actually back Riven Stone myself, because I knew I wouldn't have time to actually paint it and play it. I don't have time to play anything, so this is an update from like 26th. I want to take some time to address some of the ongoing issues we experienced at BAM HQ in depth, especially to clarify the timeline of what's happened in the last 4 months in particular. Understandably, there's a lot of speculation floating around. It's time to directly address it in order to clear the air. First and foremost, myself and my partner Hannah are still working at BAM along with a few core members of our team, doing everything we can to right the ship after several major blows to the company since we announced the merger and the layoffs that were supposed to be temporary. Unfortunately, despite a long period of negotiation and due diligence, the company that we were transferring ownership to pulled out of the deal at the 11th hour, leaving our team and projects in difficult circumstances. Now, in that video that I have linked in the chat, apparently the reason that they pulled out is because they took one look at the financials for the companies they were supposed to be merging with and went, hell no, absolutely not, no. Which says a lot. I mean, it says a lot, doesn't it? So, the merger. in process of being acquired by another company with whom they've been in talks with since January of this year. January of this year! Within the first few weeks of due diligence, we provided all of Level 52 and BAM's books in detail. It's worth pointing out that it wasn't until relatively recently that he acknowledged that Level 52 and BAM are basically the same, are two companies owned by the same person who work in tandem. Just throwing that out there. Bluntly illustrating the challenges we were facing, offering our company for $0 in exchange for the support to complete our projects and keep our team. I mean, if you ever wanted an indication that things have gone exceptionally badly, offering our company for $0 is a good indication that someone somewhere has severely screwed up. Severely screwed up. I'm not an accountant. I didn't go to business school. I know nothing about finance. But I do know that if you're trying to offer your company for $0 in exchange for getting 3 Kickstarters out, the chances are you've not done great in your management, right? They've not done great. Oh my god. Oh, it's so bad just reading that. Come on. The prospective owners were ultimately very excited by the high quality of our team's work, as they should be, because it's something I do want to make clear. The mismanagement is god-awful. The complete lack of fulfillment and communication is terrible. The actual miniatures, the actual products, great. Like, I love the miniatures that Broken Anvil Miniatures came up with. They're fantastic. They're sculptors. They're creative people. 10 out of 10. It's just the rest of it that's really bad. So, the prospective owners were very excited, but they effectively backed out. So they were like, we're not going to do it. We're not going to buy the company for $0. However, we were ultimately forced to furlough our staff in an effort to keep the business solvent, restructure as part of the merger, and get it over the finish line. None of that happened. In July, the merger we had carefully planned with new ownership fell apart, not because of anything our team did or didn't do, but because the prospective ownership experienced a dramatic downturn in their business over the course of negotiations that forced a reversal just 30 days before the merger was supposed to close. My position was eliminated soon after in an effort to reduce their overhead expenditures and preserve their own operations, and ties were fully severed, leaving us cut adrift. I would think, to be honest, that given the position that they themselves found in, he would be more understanding of sudden changes in budget, but apparently not. Oh no, go ahead. Go for it, Maka. Chill away. It's all good. I've been watching the range reviews that you've been doing for the Horus Heresy stuff, so go for it. I don't mind. What is happening now? Okay. This is such fascinating phrasing. We have spent the last few weeks exhausting every avenue of how to brute force a way forward for our company and preserve the work our team members invested with BAM for the last 3 years. Brute force a way forward. Don't brute force a way forward. Think about what you're doing, and then maybe you could work something out. I don't know. I don't know that brute forcing it is the way to go at this stage. Feels like brute forcing it didn't work up until this point, didn't it? Just throwing it out there. While we wish we had more we could freely share with our community, we are obligated not to disclose much information at this time. Oh, sorry, we skipped my favourite bit. Sorry, hang on. The appreciation and respect we feel for those who worked with us both past and present, as well as the moral imperative to deliver the products we asked our community to support us in creating, is a powerful motivating force. The moral imperative. Look, you can't underestimate the moral imperative. I don't know what it is about the phrasing of that. I don't think it's wrong. It just feels weird to put in like a public statement, you know? So, the moral imperative is a powerful motivating force for themselves and their partner. At this point, I really feel bad for the employees, because I don't know why. I just get such a weird vibe off this. So while we wish we had more we could freely share with our community, we are obligated not to disclose much information at this time. If they're working by themselves, which it seems like they are because the merger fell apart, I don't understand why they can't share anything else. We are obligated not to disclose much information. At this point, you need to share all of it? Because you have 3 separate Kickstarters that you've run that haven't been fulfilled. Where's the obligation to not disclose here? Are they working with another company to try and push this over the finish line? Because if that's true, you need to say that. But that, I mean, it really feels like I have the right, you have the right to remain, or like plead the fifth or whatever. That means I have the right to remain silent. See, Nick, right? Yeah. We will, this is, okay, we will get to this. So please know that I'm still here working with the core team to continue production on Riven Stone. The core team, by the way, from what I can tell, is one person. There's one person working on Riven Stone, from what I can tell. There is another statement that suggests that further up. I think it's on this one. Is it on Forge that they say there's only one person? Well, we'll have a look. So effectively, the rest of it is like, okay, we're working on it. We'll get it to you, etc., etc. But this also means Forged would land in the middle of 2024 to the end of 2024 because the paints are going to come out beginning of 2024. That is just... I mean, that is back-assward, that is. So, this one, the paints were supposed to be delivered by July. Forged was... When was that supposed to be delivered? January of 2023. Oh no, that's the STL. That's the STL, sorry. Okay, August. But still, Forged was last year. The paints wasn't last year. The paints, that went up, like, before... like, after last year. That was a this year thing, if I remember correctly. So, the fact that Forged is being pushed even further is crazy. Like, it's absolutely crazy the way around they've done it. So, apparently they are doing their best. They're doing their best. Is it not... Okay, Lilgoth, thank you for reminding me. I could have sworn I changed the bot to actually make it so that it tells people when I'm live, but apparently it's still no. Doesn't work. So, progress update. So this is the 31st of August. This weekend was a tough one. Working through the weekend to solve problems. You don't need to specify that. I'm gonna do something that could be classed as very non-charitable here. I don't think you need to state your working weekends because it should be the assumption that you are trying to make up for everything. That's not something you need to specify. That isn't a, oh, woe is me, I'm having to work really hard. This is almost entirely mismanagement that's caused all of this. If you, as management, aren't working weekends, then that just means you're not doing everything you should be doing. That sounds really harsh, but I would just assume that if somehow something I did ended up like this, working weekends would be a given. It would just be a thing that happened. I wouldn't tell someone I was doing it. I would just be like, well, yeah, I mean, obviously. Tell you what, let's slam up the likes a little bit more. We're at 288 viewers. Let's get the likes up. Come on, let's go. Why not? Let's just shove them up a bit. Shove them up a bit? Oh, yeah. Okay, so, we have been working on sorting our current budget. Oh, I shouldn't laugh. I'm sorry. We have been working on sorting our current budget. We know what that looks like. Sorting the current budget means launching another Kickstarter. So, do we expect to see one of those in a few... That's harsh. That's harsh. That's a harsh statement. That feels mean. That feels like a mean thing to say. It's also not necessarily inaccurate. So, for Riven Stone, we're able to finalise a lot of what we can now place orders for. Like dice, token and measurement sheets, rule books, stat cards, event decks and packaging. This is... Oh, Jesus. It's September. This is 3 months after it was supposed to ship, and they are just now finalising what they can place orders for all of the stuff that is Riven Stone that isn't the miniatures. It's just wild how like off the rails this has gone. This really feels like we had an idea. We know what we want. We are going to achieve. We didn't really plan that much of it ahead of time, but we can work it out as we go. Oh dear. Oh, you know what? Actually, my cat is typing this. You know what? Fair dues. That's actually fair comment. Disagree about working weekends, doing things without thinking, got them into this mess. They need to have a clear head to salvage what's salvageable. You know what? I actually 100% agree with that. You've I won't say called me out. You have pointed out a flaw in the thinking, and I agree. Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. Fair comment. Now, when we got the samples of token sheets and stat cards before, those were from local printers and suppliers in the United States. That will have run up the cost, wouldn't it? Jesus. We do unfortunately need to get samples first from our overseas manufacturer, China, before approving production on those. I know they don't say that that's where they're getting it from, but that's where they're getting it from. I'm just gonna make an assumption. I'm just assuming. Same with packaging. We also need our book sample. The first one we ordered was hung up in customs and ended up getting sent back. When? I want a timeline on that. When did that happen? Jesus Christ. But we should have a new one this week or early next week. Book production should only take about 1 week, plus around 30 days for shipping. So it looks like they are kind of... Here we go. We may just wait until everything is finished and consolidate the shipping to ship all at once from China. I called it. Called it. I just called it. Right. Resin and Cyocast samples. Sorry for the delay on getting these out. Ran into a few problems with one of the parts being a bit troublesome to print perfectly. Along with my reduced bandwidth, I just couldn't get them out today. So they do... Okay, there is stuff shipping out. There is stuff shipping out. But this is a super weird way to ship these out. This is definitely not what was originally planned. Is it? Like, this is a full game. This is a in-the-box game that the miniatures are being shipped just whenever they can make them, with the rest of the stuff appearing at some point in the future when they get round to having the production runs done. It's still... There is technically fulfillment going on here, but it's still not the actual... It's still not the complete product that they offered, is it? Also, Resin and Cyocast, I was reasonably sure that these were all supposed to be Cyocast, weren't they? I didn't think they had any printed ones. I mean, the thing I painted was Resin, I think, but like that was a pre-production mini, so I just assumed that... Okay. Other news, we found a new shop to move to. It's considerably smaller, but just the right amount of space to hyper-focus down on production. Now that is a glass half full statement. You know what? I actually have got to give a cheeky salute to the optimism displayed there. That is a glass half full statement if ever I've heard one. We found a new shop to move to. Considerably smaller, but just the right amount of space to hyper-focus down on production. Hyper-focus. Hell yeah. Hopefully moving in October 1st. September, not too far away. This will also allow us to put almost 12k a month towards more pressing matters than rent on a space we can barely occupy. Absolutely killing me. That's got to be down to a contract, right? That's got to be down to a contract. It's got to be down to them just not being able to break contract on the previous premises they're in. 12k a month! 12k a month spent that they didn't need to spend? Oh, Jesus. Oh, my God. Ow. Oh, that hurt my heart. Ow. I mean, to be honest, you could probably... No, I won't say you could do it out of a bedroom. That's... I don't know how big a Siocast printer is. So, current team and project output. Okay, here we go. Right now we have 3 people working on Riven Stone. 2 of them are full-time focused on Riven Stone. Ow. Ow. That's... Oh. Yeah. Alright. Resin is a technique they know, though. Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I mean they do know resin. They just didn't. I just don't think they actually offered that as part of the product. But then again, that you're not getting exactly what you asked for with this, are you? At this point, I think it's borderline miraculous that you're going to get anything from it. So, we are currently running quality control on all parts in bins. We've already culled We have already culled a few hundred parts that did not meet our standard. A few hundred? Oh. Wasn't one of the big selling points of Siocast that it was like super easy and decent quality? I need to rewatch, I think, didn't Goobertown... I think Brent did a video on Siocast, didn't he? I'll have to go back and watch that again. As for mould remaining to be made, we are working with an outside professional to help us finish off our mould production, ensuring our quality bar is maintained throughout. In the next few weeks, we'll know exactly what parts are left to be produced, and we'll have a much stronger idea on exactly how long it will take us to finish production. In that time, we'll also start production printing parts we know will need to be produced outside of Siocast, i.e. large terrain, etc. We'll show updates on those as we go. Okay, alright. And then we've got a massive progress photo dump. 130 bins of parts. Oh, good lord. Injection moulding plastic is different to making resin. You need to design the miniatures to fit a 2-piece mould or a mould with moving cores. Then you need to select a plastic and then quality control. Okay. So it's like a few hundred parts. Is that like... Would you say that's pretty standard, Macca, for that kind of production? So, yeah, I can see a bunch of the... I've actually recognised some of the parts. That is a massive photo dump, to be fair. That's a lot of stuff. What the heck? Okay, so... Oh, those are like the sprues, and then we've got the heads on the edge, it looks like. So, there's... I mean, they're definitely making stuff. They're 100% making stuff. Good God. Oh my god. Alright. Admittedly, this feels a little... this was done after the video that is pinned in the chat. So this to me is... feels a little reactionary. Just in a kind of, no, look, we are doing stuff. Look at all this stuff we've done. Look at all these things we've got. There's a lot of pictures here. I didn't necessarily need all of those, because there's a second post with even more pictures. This is definitely a... No, seriously, look at all the stuff we're doing. We are doing things. Yeah, photos continued. So, even more. Way more. Yep. That... God damn. I mean, you can't deny there being thorough on on documenting what they've achieved so far. All right, are these the molds then? Molds to be balanced and put into production. Okay. Right. They're producing parts and placing them offshoots into bins, increase labour costs because they literally have a person clipping them off and itemising them. Oh, so actually that's... So even that they're doing in a non-efficient way? Oh, please. They've got like 2... So if they've got 2 people working on this, is one of these poor sods just endlessly clipping stuff out and looking at it? Because, oh my god. Whatever they're paying that guy, it's not enough. That is some ass-backwards way to organising your workflow for mass production. Okay. Oh, man. Oh, jeez. It's just such a mess. Such a horrible mess. So, did they specify? What I want to know is, did they specify all Siocast, or did they say initially that it was going to be a mix of Siocast and resin? I'm going to do a quick search. Wow. So, all of our miniatures designed and produced in-house using Siocast machines. So I mean resin plastic miniatures, but like the way that they phrased it, it seemed like they were doing a mix of resin printing and like just 3D printing / traditional resin 3D printing, you know, bed on top, dip it in the goo, you get stuff out of it, and Siocast. But now I'm not sure whether that's actually the case or what. I mean they did definitely, yeah, it seems like the Siocast is miniatures, but then they're doing other stuff with actual 3D printing, which I don't know that is something that they said they were going to do. But then again, at this point, right, they are just trying to get it out, aren't they? They're just trying to get it out. So, Riven Stone Faction Starter Box, access to Backer Kit Store. Then we've got Riven Stone Faction Starter Boxes, Starter Box, Hero Expansion, Muster Expansion. So, yeah, it kind of... In a way, this is oddly laid out, because now I'm questioning whether this was ever going to be like a battle in a box to begin with. Weird. Weird. Did we just drop out for a second? I bet we did, didn't we? They're doing, say, 8 spears on 1 sprue rather than all the parts for the one model on the 1 sprue. Imagine if GW did all the parts for a tactical squad piece by piece. Oh, God. Good grief. So yeah, oh man, that's oh Jesus. So that's what they've done for Riven Stone, right? So let's have a look and see what the update is for. Have they got any other? Oh dear, nothing, nothing. Forged is just the initial update we got before, and that's it. Look at the main showcase image. It shows an outline of the second player, which means it isn't a battle in a box. Oh, yeah, I think I saw what you mean. Yeah, okay. So right now, what's happening then is... Right now, it looks like they are producing the miniatures. They're sending the miniatures out. They're waiting for all of the tokens, the cards, the books, even the box to be produced, which will then be sent out after the miniatures have been sent out. The weird thing is that means you're getting a box with all the paper stuff in without any models in it. So that's like... I mean, they're obviously just trying to get it out, but again, it's not fully the product that people kickstarted, is it, at this point? Because you're getting it piecemeal instead of as it should have been delivered. So with Forged, I'm reasonably certain that Forged, what they did was they gave everyone STLs as opposed to giving them production miniatures, which is what it was supposed to be. So I planned all of our molds so the operators only had to QC them on them exiting the machine as they stacked them directly into the shipping pallets. Okay. Yeah, that, I mean, funnily enough, that seems way more sensible than what they're doing. Okay, so Heroes Box, 17-piece set of high-quality pre-assembled plastic tabletop minis for an exclusive discount over retail. So there is the STL version somewhere. I could have sworn there was an STL. There we go. Adventure STL bundle. Campaign to print all 35 of the STL files. And then the rest of it is all pre-assembled. All pre-assembled plastic. Except if we look at the comments and the updates, there is just nothing. Requesting a refund. I want a refund. They've deleted / ghosted their Facebook and Instagram accounts. Ugh. Don't do that. Don't just try and go dark. That's not a good idea. You got to tell people what's happening. Don't go dark. Can't fault the fact they made it this far, but that's because they didn't understand the production side of things, which means that a well-designed product is let down by a failure to cost-efficiently produce the parts they need to in the time frame allotted. Okay, so it's not just the financial side of things that they've not known what they've been doing, but they also have just not got the experience doing the production side of things. So all of the other stuff they've had is compounded by the fact that they just haven't been competently producing the product. Okay. So that was the last update. Oh, hang on, I've scrolled down a bit. So they've got the current business status at 26th of August. Then on the 10th, we do not have much to discuss in the update department. We do not have anything to update with. We don't have much for you in terms of progress with this update. Oh my god. So for like, what? In May, they said that they were in the early phases of steel mould making with our factory partner overseas and were running into some quality issues, which may lead to a partial redesign of many of the sculpts. And you know what? You know what as well? One of the things about Forged was the fact that they had them previously, the sculpts. So one of the, I think it was in that video again, it was mentioned that they were like using sculpts they already had for the Patreon to do the Forged campaign, because quick, easy, you don't have to do anything to it. But of course, if you're designing stuff for printing in like 3D printing at home, that's not the same thing as making them out of plastic. That's not the same thing. Like, so they took the stuff they had and then went, well, we can just mass produce these, and then went, oh, that's not how it works? Because that's kind of not, again, that's not ideal. That is that understatement of the century. That's not ideal. We're going to send out links to all... Yeah, there we go. The only way we can bypass whatever segment errors are happening, we're going to send out links to all backers of each STL bundle. All of them. So even if you signed up for something that had no STLs in it, you get those STLs. This is our only nuclear option to ensure all backers in good standing are getting their links. But that's not what people paid for. That's not what people paid for. Oh, God. And then, yeah, so that was in May. Then there was nothing for 2 months. So, not 2 months, a month and a bit. So May 30th, we're starting manufacturing, we're having issues. July 8th, major layoffs. July 23rd, we have no updates. August 10th, we have no updates. August 26th, mid to late 2024 is when you might get your stuff. Oh, God. God. Right. If you want to make moulds in China, prepare to travel to China to stay for the initial production batch. No mould is ever perfect. Every GW sprue has marks on it where they stamped in the note revisions. Is that... Okay. Is that where those... Is that what the little dots are? I've read about that somewhere. I don't know. It'll be on this sprue. Random Screamer Killer. Just in case you're wondering which sprue. What's this one? Because some of the older sprues have got like a ton of little bumps in the side of it. Yeah, I don't know if you can see in that corner. I don't know if you can see there. Is that what those are? Okay. Huh. What kit did I open the other day that had like that had like 18 of them? Oh, that's gonna bug me. I don't know what kit it was, but there was one kit that I got out, and there was a ton of them. Then they're in like a nice little neat row as well. That's gonna really bug me. That's gonna really bug me. If you don't know how to actually do plastic molding, just sell STLs. I mean, that's the thing. This is the thing that's getting me, right. Broken Anvil were doing really well with the STL side of things, and I get wanting to expand and change up and like make your own stuff. I get that 100%. I get that, but I don't know. I feel like you can't just make the leap. You know, it just seems like there's not enough preparedness going on. It just seems like that things weren't prepared well enough, weren't managed well enough. Back is in good standing. Who decides who deserves the stuff people paid for and declares who isn't good? Yeah, I mean it's not great, is it? Companies underestimate how much honesty can make a difference if they just come out and said we overstretched, we tried to do something with the best of intentions, but we're inexperienced. Yeah. Their centre punch mark knocked in by some bloke who has confirmed the change. A negative dent becomes a positive cone when moulded. That's really interesting. I mainly backed STL packs already done. Yep. That's a way to do it for sure, to avoid all of that stuff. So we've got along with all of that, like it's bad, but then and then it got worse. It's also the fact that they decided to do this paint Kickstarter as well. Like, yeah, I don't know. Just the overstretching is insane. The overstretching is insane. Again, we've had the same thing. Oh, sorry, missed the 2-week check-in. Oh, we don't have anything to talk about. They've just copy-pasted stuff from one Kickstarter to the next. And it's bad news on all of them because they don't have anything. They don't have anything. So rough. I mean, I forget, did Tooth and Coats have a big delay between... I can't remember whether it shipped on time or not. I don't want to cast aspersions as well. I can't remember whether it shipped on time. I mean, from everyone I've spoken to who have used Tooth and Coats, whether they backed it and received it or whether they got sent like review boxes like I did, everyone seems to absolutely love Tooth and Coats. So I'm not shit talking the product because the product's good, but I wasn't sure whether they so it was massively late. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I don't reckon I got my review box like out probably months and months after they shipped all of the ones that they had outstanding. Like, I didn't get them early or anything. I got them like well after the fact. Which honestly, that's fine. I'd prefer people who paid for it got it first. Duncan's company was one of the more professional launches. The thing that gets me about Broken Anvil switching to Sirecast is that when Privateer Press had trouble 3D printing when they had difficulty in Mark IV launch models, they talked too much crap. I was a European backer. It took me 10 months longer to get it than it did for Australians. Oh my god. Yeah, Tooth and Coats was really late. Super late. Yeah. No Inquisitor Media, no. The video that was 22nd of August, I believe, that is for Revenant's Run. Totally different company, totally different product. They're also not doing anything in Sirecast. They're 3D printing. If it's a large aluminium mould, say 600 by 600, don't expect any change from $40,000. Oh my god. In this case, the moulds are a much more fragile type of material. If you break them, what do you do then? Buy another mould. Moulds, especially for crisp detail, wear out. So what? I don't know what material like you make moulds out of. I assumed like something heavy and solid, just because I don't know. I've just assumed that. But like on these photos here, was it this one? No, it's the other one, wasn't it? The moulds look like... I mean, I know they're not wood. What is that material made of? So it looks like it's like metal screws that go into it and hold them together, or at least lock them in. But what's the actual material made of? Vulcanized rubber. I wonder how big the CEO's pile of shame is. Oh, silicon molds. Okay, that makes sense. So something like a silicon mold, does that have like a way shorter lifespan than like an aluminium mold? That's another thing, right? I need to rewatch Brent's video on Siocast. But is that an efficient use of space? Is that like for Siocast and silicon molds? Is that like the best way to do it? Silicon is cheap, wears out within 100 parts. Okay. So with that there, if we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, so like within 12. So you basically got like 12 uses out of this mold before you'd have to make it again? So is that right? That's maths. And I'm bad at maths. If it's 100, if you get 100 parts... Oh no, hang on, no, I'm thinking... No. What? You know what? I counted the parts, and then... Yeah, no, 100 uses, not 100 individual parts. Idiot. This is why I don't do maths. I overcomplicated that. I overcomplicated because I counted the parts in the mold. Why would that make a difference? Any chance, brain? No chance. To be fair, I'm also quite hungry. I didn't have breakfast today. My breakfast has been 2 cups of coffee, and that's it. I'm trying to not eat as much. It's difficult because I love food. Steelers harvest machine costs more, worse thermal qualities, but suffers from corrosion and other issues. Okay. So yeah, I mean, I got sidetracked again. Sidetracked. Great podcast. I mean, it is a great podcast because I was on it. That's not why it's great. So there was something in here, right, that Mikey touched on, where they didn't know they needed bottles or something. Where was it? There was something in one of these posts where, in a previous update, they were like, we didn't know that we had to get bottles for the paint. There we go. There we go. So we go. Bottles. Your campaign says you are very confident in your experience in product manufacturing. Can I ask what educational experience you have that gives you this Jesus, dude. Who is this? Who is this absolute savage? Nymand15. Nymand15. Brutal takedown. Absolutely brutal takedown there. Can I ask what educational experience you have that gives you this confidence? Oh my god. Wow. On July 7th, they stated, unfortunately, as a result of this unbelievably awesome enthusiasm, sourcing the volume of the specific bottles we need for containing our paint has been a larger challenge than expected, and our manufacturing partner now requires a longer manufacturing period to fulfill the volume needed. I don't make paint, but I would have thought a core element of making paint is ensuring that you have enough stuff to put the paint in. There's probably some maths you can do to figure that out, right? There's probably something you can do to figure that out. That is... Okay. I'm wondering why it took almost 2 months to figure out that your manufacturing partner would be able to provide you with a new number of bottles. Nyman absolutely chose violence. Just woke up and chose violence. It was not having it. Was absolutely not having it, Nyman. Savage. But again, that's something that's like... I keep restating this. I keep restating this. But it feels like things planned. Or things were planned. But not enough. Like, it feels like you get like part way through the plan and go, let's go. Instead of going all the way with it. Because I feel like... Again... Keeping track of volume when it comes to production in any capacity, keeping track of volume and then keeping track of like what you need to send that volume out to customers, whether it's resin prints, plastic prints, Siocast, whether it's books, whether it's boxes, etc., etc. Paints. If you know how many people have bought it, if you know like how much you need to make, and you know how big each bottle is, did they just take a wild stab in the dark and then ended up getting it wrong? Did they make an assumption that it wouldn't be as popular as it is? Like, it's just... I don't... I figure that when they started this, they at least had some idea as to what they were doing in terms of colours. Like, they will have... The project won't have just been, we're kickstarting paint, we know nothing about paint. I would hope. I could be totally wrong. I would hope. But things like that just strike me as being like really weird oversights. Does that make sense? And things like, okay, the specific bottles we need. If I was in that position, and if there was a point where somehow we'd totally miscalculated, you know, we're supposed to send out this amount of paint, but we don't have anywhere near enough bottles for that amount of paint, and there's no way that the manufacturer would be able to make that number of bottles. If you're trying to fulfill the pledges to backers, is it not feasible to get bottles that are maybe not the same but different, or default to a standard bottle that is used everywhere? I mean, this is the thing, right? The bottles they show there the bottles they show there are a particular size and shape, but the bottles that were sent to like previewers, like to YouTubers and painters and stuff, weren't those bottles. And that's, I think that's just where I'm getting a bit like, it kind of, some of it feels like a we'll deal with it when we get to it kind of thing. And the thing is, that, in this specific instance, that could be totally unfair of me to say. I'll admit that could be totally unfair of me to say. It might well be my reading through of the previous Kickstarters that are colouring my perception of how they've handled this Kickstarter. When it comes, like, I'm assuming that the challenges of paint production and the challenges of Siocast and plastic model production are totally different. But we know for a fact that Riven Stone and Forged have been horrifically mismanaged. So I'm looking at stuff that they've done with the paint side of things, and I'm going, well, my assumption there is that you messed it up in a way that you shouldn't really have messed it up. But that could well be purely because past experience says they didn't do it right. Does that make sense? I think it makes sense. Or am I just... or am I like... Am I being nicer than I need to be? I don't know. I just feel... Maybe they're using pre-COVID bottle prices. I will say that when it comes to bottles, I'm assuming, right, whatever company makes these, Whatever company makes... oh no, that's a different bottle. Alright, I'll let them off. What else we got? So we got Army Painter, we got... Whatever company makes these bottles, these ones, I'm assuming that they've got capacity, right? I'm assuming they've got capacity. These are three different... these are three different companies, okay? We got Scale 75, we got Army Painter, and we've got Vallejo. Sorry. I mispronounced that one. As we know from Honest Wargamer, from Rob, it's actually pronounced Valley Joe. But like that's three different companies, and they have exactly the same bottle. It's just the same. It's exactly the same on all of them. I would happily accept not having a different bottle and having all the bottles I need, you know? But then again, that, just me. Just me. I've opened another. Turbo Dork uses the same bottle too. I think do Monument Hobbies use the same bottle as well? Flicked an email to you of one of the molds I designed. Oh wow! Oh my god, Jesus! This is one of those situations, right? This is one of those situations where someone sends me something and I immediately know that they are far more intelligent than I am. They use a bigger one, Monument Hobbies. Okay. Two Thin Coats. I don't mind their bottles. They can be a little leaky at the top sometimes. Like there's a lot of like leaky going on, which I'm not a big fan of. So that's okay. So that's like a full. Would that be like a complete like aluminium mold? Just realised I should have double checked that I could have shown that, because if that's some sort of proprietary thing, please don't sue me to within an inch of my life. Just a mild suing. Steel backing plate, aluminium mold. Right. Oh my god, 70,000. Jesus. There actually aren't that many makers of paint. So many of paint brands are made in the same factory. Honestly, same thing with guitars. Same thing with the guitars. It's one of those things where it's less each company producing their own stuff in house. They kind of outsource it to other big companies that like specialize in that one thing. But it's things like the formula's different for each paint. So, which two is it? I feel like Scale 75 and is it Army Painter? I forget. I know that there's at least two of them who get their stuff from the same factory, but of course the paints are totally different. Like Scale 75 paints have got a very different quality to a lot of other paints. Okay, I am finding good. Good. But yeah, it's the same thing with guitars. So if you get I want to say it's a PRS. I think it's PRS, Ibanez, Jackson, Chapman, and Solar guitars. Solar might be a different factory. They're all made. If you get a Korean made, then they are all made in the same factory. They're all made at World Music. But, you know, things like the pickups are different. The string gauges will be different depending on what type of guitar it is. The body shape's different. The thickness is different. The wood used. I mean, to be fair, with a lot of guitars, the wood used it'll be like the same kind of. You know, if you've got a basswood body guitar, then all guitars that have a basswood body will use that wood. But, you know, different shapes, thicknesses, neck sets and stuff. Same thing with Citadel brushes. They are made in the same factory as Winsor & Newton. Yeah. Something that was absolutely fascinating, something I found really interesting on Painting Phase was when they had a product designer who used to work at Games Workshop on, and he mentioned how there was a set of snips, I think it was, where people will tell him that they preferred the old snips as opposed to the like one coloured handle to a different coloured handle, and they prefer those because they're just better. Tom Hibbert, thank you, Plebiscite. And they're the same. They're the same. They're just different coloured handles or something. I forget which product it was, but he's like, yeah, no, it's the same product. They've just got a different handle. Nothing else was different. That kind of insight, I love that. Love that. I think Rosemary & Co. and Artis Opus are made in the same place, yeah. But they're not the same brushes. That's something that's worth pointing out, right? I see this come up fairly frequently. As you all know, I use Artis Opus brushes. And I love Artis Opus. I use their stuff literally all the time. Like, especially the Series D dry brushes. It's like the basis of my painting. And I have seen a few people say that they are just the same brushes, but Artis Opus cost more. They're not the same brushes. They're made in the same place, but there's only like 2 places you can make brushes. Especially like good quality brushes. And the things like it's like the density of the brush is different, and the shape of it is slightly different, and there are differences between the two. Every now and again I'll just see like, oh, they're actually exactly the same. They're not. I've not actually tried Rosemary & Co. though. Maybe at some point. Yeah, the specs are different. But then again, so many of like hobby stuff is, there's only so many places that make them. There's only so many places that make specific products, and when it comes to particularly niche things, which arguably maybe brushes aren't that niche necessarily in terms of use, but in terms of where they're made, there's not a huge number of places to choose from when it comes to, you know, the more high-end brushes. So a lot of them end up just getting made in the same place at different specs. Again, like paint, like guitars, it's like a lot of stuff, frankly. That's the thing, Czar. They are the Series D brushes are really hardy, but only if you use them right. Like I have a real issue with the extra small ones. I annihilate the extra small dry brushes. Like, I really destroy them, and I try not to, but my technique with them is really, really not good. It's just a case of getting used to it. Like, stippling shouldn't be too bad, but you need to make sure that when you're stippling... So here's the thing, right? If you stipple too much with one of the brushes, you lose the rounded shape. So I've used this for stippling a lot. So it's got a flat head, right? If you do use a brush for stippling a lot, you also need to make sure you use that same brush for like blending and dry brushing, because otherwise you lose the shape. Because that's the kind of shape it should be. There should be a slight dome to it, just a slight dome. Whereas that has lost the shape because I've done a lot of just, you know, downward poking and stabbing, and you need to make sure you wear away the edges as well. When it comes to doing like a bunch of terrain, I don't use my Series D. I just use makeup brushes when it comes to doing tons of terrain. I prefer using the Series D stuff on actual models. Sent a picture of the machines I brought into the company before I left. Don't think people realise how big and complex this stuff is. Oh my god. Jesus Christ. I include myself in that. One is during construction, one is during the normal running. I will give you a quick breakdown in a second how this looks, so... God. So these are the ones that you brought into the company. Absolutely. I don't know why, but just the scale of it is just way more extreme than I have ever assumed. Just the size of it. God. 10,000 tons of injection pressure at the nozzle. So effectively, is all of this set up to, I realise how this sounds, to basically just forcefully shove stuff into that? Is that the very rough setup? The very rough setup. I realise that's a terrible way to phrase it, but kind of you take that, you stick it into this, and it shoves stuff into it. I can really see myself going into a rabbit hole of of this stuff, to be honest. Some polymers like moulding, most don't, and it's a fight to inject. Okay. It's just a giant syringe. Oh, wow. The large mech bit is the pressure maker. Think of a giant hydraulic arm. Okay, that makes sense. Yep. War bases do dry brushes that are similar to but cheaper than the Artis Opus ones. They're presumably not identical, but the pain of replacing one is quite a lot less pronounced. That's the thing, Zingbo. The Artis Opus ones last. I mean, I can tell you right now, if I look at my mug of Artis Opus brushes, I can tell you which ones are my original batch. So original batch. That would be... That's an original batch. That one needs a clean. God damn, that's terrible. I hope Byron isn't watching this. He'll lose his mind. Oh, God. Okay, I found like 4 that need cleaning. Maybe more. Okay, so of my original batch of Artis Opus Series D that I was sent to review, that's 4 of them. I mean, I've had them since 2019 or something. Whenever that video came out, whenever I did the initial Artis Opus Series D video, that's how long I've had those brushes, and they're still going, and they get heavily, massively abused. Like, the whole point is dry brushing and stabbing and stippling, and they're still going strong. I mean, admittedly, this one has had better days, and I need to give it a clean. This small, it's very worn down, but I use them every single time I paint, so they do last. Goobs has teased a brush care video. Frankly, I feel like I need that. Magic has dozens of successful games. This was a company getting something you don't understand. Yeah. Yep. GW are addicted to price rises, and it makes me sad. I want people to enjoy the hobby, not be priced out of it. That is literally it. That is the entirety. It's what I want. Maybe we should seize the means of production. Although in the specific case of the machines that Maka sent pictures of, I don't know that I want to seize those means of production because it's massive and scary. Oh, I've just remembered that I need to clean out both my Saturns to try and get them to print stuff again. They failed 3 times each yesterday. They've been levelled, they've been calibrated, they've been cleaned, they've been levelled again. They just... nothing on the build plate for either of them. Repeatedly. So frustrating. I don't know what's going on. It's absolutely doing my head in. Especially since one of it is for a review for some resin that I was sent. I'm using the settings recommended. I'm doing the things right. The first attempts were fine, but they started hanging off the build plate, so I recalibrated everything and leveled everything, and now they don't work. And it's the worst. Seize the means of miniature productions. I had that's the other thing as well. I had the resin heating before I poured it in. The ideal was, I think, the booklet's out there, but the ideal was like 23 or 24 degrees, it said. I did it to when it said. Got a little thermometer in there to know. But nope. Although then again, when I started printing, the room temperature was like 23, and then when I came to check on it a bit later, the room temperature was 26. It got really hot yesterday, so... oh, well over 30. I mean, to be honest, it's the right weather for it, because it's hot and horrible at the moment. Oh, the lift speeds are way down already. They're way down. It'll be one of those things where I'll change one setting and it will just suddenly start working again. I do like 3D printing, but sometimes it's just... I mean, at their core, they are printers. And printers are the work of Satan. So... oh, I would fully die if I went to... If I came to Australia, I would pass away. Just as the plane landed, I would die. I get... no joke... I get uncomfortably, like, hot when it is more than, like, 18 degrees Celsius. That is my uncomfortable point. That's where I'm like, shorts and a t-shirt, nobody touch me, this sucks. I just, as a human being, I run really, really hot all the time. When other people are walking around, like in the UK, when people are walking around in like a coat and a scarf and their heaviest clothes and a hat, at that point I'm like, oh, I might have to start wearing my light hoodie. It's getting a bit chilly. So, yeah, right now, this week where it's like 30 degrees, it's just absolute hell for me. I can't stand it. It's, you know, it is also so, like, so muggy, so humid and gross. Like, the air is just wet. Yeah, I hate it. So the resin is some it's Nova 3D. There's a dark beige and a dark navy resin. I forget the name of it. Oh, I prefer to kit bash Jacquard. I like it. Well, I don't know. I like kit bashing for the creativity side of things. I like 3D printing for having an idea and just being like, okay, but has someone already made weird tentacle people? Yes, they have. Okay, brilliant. Hello, Dunra. Thank you for dropping in. I will say I used to really hate FDM printing, but I've grown to really like FDM printing since I got my Neptune and the Neptune 3 Plus. They are both really good printers. I have no complaints about them whatsoever. Resin, for me, when it's working and it's working good, I love it. When it's a faff and it starts going wrong, then I immediately hate it because of just all the cleanup is just such a pain. With FDM, unless it goes catastrophically wrong, which it's only gone catastrophically wrong twice, it's just a case of, oh good, spaghetti, and then I take it off the bed, I level it again, and then I start the print again and it works, generally. So the Neptune 3 Pro is really good. Really good. Love mine. It's been an absolute workhorse until I accidentally trashed it. The poor thing. It did everything I asked and more, and then I failed to level the bed and went out for hours, and it just dragged. It just dragged the first layer around. Oh man, it was so catastrophically awful that. I think that was on that. I did put that in the video. I think talking about the Neptune 3 Pro. I'm pretty sure I put that little clip in the video. Hang on, I'll find it. Let me find it because it's. I mean, to be honest, it's pretty. It made me laugh, even though it shouldn't have done. Like it was funny after the fact. When I had space to. When I had space to process it, then I was like, okay, this is pretty funny. Here we go. Here we go. Oh. Okay. This is what I walked in on. This is what I walked in on. Oh. Oh, no. Oh, no, gang. Oh. Oh, it's so bad. Oh. Yep. Yep. Absolutely brutal that was. Brutal. And then like this is what I found underneath it once I stopped it. Oh yeah. Oh, look at the goo. Look at the goo. Oh. Oh dear. Yeah, that was not my finest moment. You know what? You know why I took a video of that? Do you know why I took a video? Because I walked in, I looked at it, dragging it around, and I went, I mean, that's clearly not going to get any. That's clearly not going to get any worse. Like the damage has been done. I can take like 10 seconds of video. It's not going to make any difference now. And indeed, the damage had already been done. I've still got the I've still got chunks of goo in one of my bits boxes somewhere because you know. So what I think happened there, Alec man, was I didn't level the bed before I started printing, which was a stupid thing to do. And also, it looks like the settings were off for that PLA anyway, just because of how bad the raft was. Like you could clearly see the raft wasn't cohesive. So a combination of not leveling and the raft being really dodgy because of bad settings for that particular reel of PLA meant that at some point the nozzle caught the print because the print had lifted off the bed. At that point, the print got stuck on the nozzle because the nozzle's hot, so it would have fused whatever was coming out of the nozzle to the print. It continued to try and print stuff, but it just dragged that first few layers around the bed over and over again, but it couldn't actually push out any more PLA because the nozzle was blocked. So what it did was just push it out up and around the nozzle. Like it melted the protective coating around the wires. Like it was really bad. It just pushed everything out. It was a whole thing. But I sorted it. It was fine. Like it works again. So it was just a silly mistake that I do my best to never ever repeat, because oh my god, it's you know what, it's trying to get it all off afterwards, because you got to heat the nozzle up so that it melts the plastic again, and then like chip it away. But you don't want to chip it away too much because it had melted around the wires, and I didn't want to rip the wires out and mess the print head up completely. I was really worried that it would wreck the print head, which it didn't, so it was fine. But but yeah, oh, catastrophe that was. Absolute disaster. Absolute disaster. I didn't print anything on that printer for like 2 weeks afterwards. I felt like it deserved a break. It was just no. It's just like, no, I'm not having this. If they have a build plate's really bad for that. If they have power outages, the bed often releases the print as it cools. Yeah. It was not great. It was not great. We're massively off the subject we originally had, but I think we got the gist of it, right? We got the gist of it. Could I have done anything differently to avoid accidentally misleading people into backing 2 Kickstarters that turned out to be horrendously mismanaged, outside of just not taking sponsorships? I don't think so, to be honest. I mean, I do my best to make it so that anything that appears on the channel, I try and make it so that it's relevant to the channel. I try and make it so that it's, you know, actually something to do with wargaming or miniatures for the most part. Things like things like Skillshare, kind of adjacent skills, I would class that as, plus demonstrable immediate fulfillment of what you're paying for. But yeah, it just sucks. I feel really bad for the people who've pledged, because they're not getting fully what they were supposed to get. What they are getting is well after the fact, which just is garbage. And I feel really bad for the staff. I feel really bad for the staff, because Broken Anvil they had some really talented sculptors, some really talented people working there, and by all accounts, it just fell apart, and they are negatively affected by the decisions of someone that they were supposed to be, I'm going to say, supposed to be being looked after. Something that I really genuinely strongly believe is that if you are in management, you have some sort of duty of care towards the people who are working for you. Like, you're not just, you shouldn't be. I realise that we could go into a whole separate discussion off the back of this, but it shouldn't just be a case of people are there to work, make them work, and that's it. No, it should be something whereby you're trying to look after the people who work for and with you, and they didn't do that, and that's garbage. So yeah. On the upside, the one of the other companies that I've done loads of stuff for, Archon Studios, that is the absolute opposite of this, whereby I think every Kickstarter they've done, the last 3 have just shipped early. So it's, at least it's not a common problem that I find myself, you know, supporting things that shouldn't be. Seems to just be a one-off so far. So a failure rate of 1, it could be worse. It could be worse. I really do genuinely hope that Broken Anvil sort themselves out enough to actually get this stuff out to people, because it's what they should do. I've not made any of my own STLs, Dave. I kind of want to try it, but I don't know anything about it. I don't know anything about it, but I do want to try it. I've got so much Dungeons and Lasers stuff up there. It's so silly. I'm so far behind on it. It's unreal. You know what? I was going to make this like an hour long, but it's been longer than that. And I've got so much more to record. I owe you guys like 4 videos. I just haven't. The tech issues have been mad. Mad, I tell you. Absolutely mad. So many. I mean, you can tell there were tech issues because the stream took 4 attempts or whatever. Was it 4 or 3? It might have only been 3. I think this is the 3rd one and it worked. which is nice. Makes a nice change. I would love to know how to make basic STLs, Macca. That would be awesome. Yeah, third time was the charm. It worked. It worked. So yeah, I think I'm gonna have to go and get something to eat. If you want to make Doreen say anything or dump any gifts in the membership bucket, now's the time to do it. If not, we're going to be back to normal schedule next week, right? So we're going to be back to streaming Monday morning, streaming Wednesday evening, streaming Friday morning. It's been super disrupted over the last 6 weeks because it's been the school holiday, so my kids have been at home, which means obviously I've been doing stuff with my kids, which is kind of what you're supposed to do. So that's why things have been disrupted. But hopefully, from Monday on, we're back into the groove, back into the swing of things, and everything can go back to normal, and I can actually work as much as I need to. That would be nice. Wouldn't it? That would be nice. Also, Macca is dropping a 15-minute video straight after this finishes, so go over and watch that. Have you just tried to make Doreen set? Okay, I want to see. The delay is massive. The delay is massive.
E.
Yeah, there we go. Just E. Just E. There, just E. That's what you're getting. Just E. Oh man. Thank you very much, Alec man. Woke her up just for me to put her back to sleep. Right. Thank you for watching, everyone. I will see you for whatever shows up this afternoon, providing everything works, and wish me luck with trying to work out why the PC keeps breaking. I'm sure it'll all be fine. Have a good weekend.